Are you drowning in debt? Are you struggling to make minimum payments? Did you know that on average, a household with at least one credit card struggles with over $15,000 in credit card debt? If this sounds like you, know that it's not your fault. Credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates and low minimum payments. Before you know it, you're in over your head. National Debt Relief has helped thousands of good people just like you become debt-free with our Debt Reset program that will dramatically reduce your debt down to a fraction of what you owe. Our Debt Reset program is customized to get you debt-free in as little as 24 to 48 months with one low monthly payment. If you owe over $10,000 in credit card debt or even personal loans, call 800-274-9490. There are no upfront fees or out-of-pocket expenses. You don't pay a dime until we succeed. Call now to see how the Debt Reset program can work for you. 800-274-9490. That's 800-274-9490. 800-274-9490.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following is a live, copyrighted presentation of RadioLawTalk.com. And it's time now for Radio Law Talk. And here is your host for the program, Mr. Fred Penney.
Wow.
Wait, let me turn your mic. There you go, Fred.
Yeah, you can turn my mic on if you want.
Okay, it's a new thing I'm working on.
Yeah, Cal's like, I'm gonna introduce you a cool introduction to you, but I ain't turning your mic
I know.
on.
I had to go live this time because of the reboot thing, but it was live. But
Cal cut Todd's mic, and the show got demonstratively better.
That's exactly right.
It's like when I played high school football. My coach said, I'm going to trade you, ask you to go to another school. I said, are they sending anybody back for me? He said, no, it's an even trade that will strengthen both teams.
I could tell you a story of a high school coach who thought his son was really, really good and sent him up to varsity, and he was a sophomore. And let me tell you, it was the most, oh my gosh. And then when they said, well, I guess we're going to send him back down to the JV, and the JV coach said,
I don't want to.
No, thanks. You keep him up at varsity.
Yeah.
That's why you got to be a coach and coach your kids, so you can just put them in when they're not very good.
They do.
So all the time it happens.
Nothing worse than being a coach's kid because you have to wear that. That's the hard
Well,
part.
and I do feel sorry for some of them that are good, but man, talk about issues.
I think if I was ever a coach, I would coach under my acting stage name of Mark Ashbourne.
Oh,
and
good.
if my son was on the team, I would never tell anybody that's my kid.
Hey, way to get the stage name in there, Fred. That was product
That was
placement
pretty
right
slick.
there.
I was
good,
set
man.
up on that one. I mean, that's almost as tricky as when I said my Instagram handle is @AToddK, @ATODDK. I mean, like when I said that.
That was subtle.
I'm gonna tell mine.
That was subtle,
Here's
man.
my Instagram. Let me see if I even get one new follower. I think because everyone's 45 and older that listens to our program,
I know.
Nobody even knows what Instagram is. But I'm Frederick, Frederick, Penney 1. So let's see if I have one new follower. I'm going to say no.
Yeah, our listeners out there, with the demographic. Instagram, now, is that run by Western Union?
That is.
Is that go tap, 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 tap? No.
Cal, are you making fun of our listeners?
There is some market opportunity. A singing Instagram.
Okay, yes.
Cal, I wonder if it's not 45 and up. I wonder if it's 65 and up.
Probably.
We could always broadcast between the hours of 3 and 5, dinner hour at the Sizzler, but go on.
855 Law Radio, or tweet us if you know
nice.
what Twitter is at Radio Law Talk. Give us a call. We're going to do case or no case in a second, but before we do that, we're going to tell you a little bit about us. We are just a couple of lawyers. Myself, I'm a personal injury lawyer. Todd Cunin is a former prosecutor in 2 states and a criminal lawyer. Denise Dirks, who is not here today, is a family law attorney. And Cal Hunter thinks he's a lawyer and is a former newscaster and a producer and a 3-time Emmy Award nominee, but never a winner.
So I think I'm a producer. I'm not. I think I'm a lawyer. I'm not. I think I'm a good guy. I'm not.
You're an okay guy.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just I strike out on all of these
And Cal,
things.
tell the listeners, seriously, this is all I'm doing.
Yeah.
How many kids you have? Tell them.
My wife and I have had 9 children together.
That is phenomenal. 9 children.
And if you see her, you'd never guess it.
That's exactly.
Yeah,
she
you'd
looks
never guess it in a
great.
million
She
years,
looks
yeah.
awesome.
Yep.
It's just amazing that Cal could bring children into this world, 9 of them like him.
I got to say, we do talk about how Cal's not an attorney and thinks he's a lawyer, but I've lost track of the number of times, I'm being completely honest, of the number of times we've had a discussion here on Radio Law Talk, and Cal has brought something up, and I have sat there and gone, I nenever thought of that before, but that makes sense.
A good argument.
That's a pretty darn good argument. Well,
every once in a while.
Do you want a job interning? I could use one.
We're going to talk about Weinstein after the case or no case. We're going to talk about Avanatti. Jesse Smollett is indicted. That's an interesting thing. The courtroom antics, actually it's not in the courtroom, but it's at a mediation. This is very interesting what happened between lawyers, and there's a motion before the court to sanction a lawyer as to what he did. We're going to talk about Lori Loughlin, the latest news on that lawsuit. I'm telling you, to me, this is going to be a major issue in the future, and it's just starting. That is transgenders in girls track.
Athletics.
So athletics, the issue is transgenders are winning, killing these girls in races. The first lawsuit in Connecticut has been brought up by individual young ladies who are claiming it is not proper to have transgenders running in female events.
Yeah, just as a matter of basic fairness, they say.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Right,
So, and there's issues there's Title IX. Believe it or not, Title IX. So I think it's a constitutional fight against a Title IX fight, which Title IX, those of you who don't know what that is, it basically equalized women's sports with men, because before men got all the not all, but most of the scholarships, and then so it kind of balanced it out with the women and men's sports, and now they're bringing it under a Title IX argument. So anyway, we're going to talk about that. And then before that, we got to talk about case or no case. Cal, roll the second case or no case.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that, because I think you'll take some interest in this one, I hope.
It's time to play Case or No Case.
All right, Johnny Bernard was born and raised in New Mexico. His mother, Cherie Bernard, never told Johnny who his father was. Mm-hmm. She and Johnny lived out the early days in his life in a trailer on the outskirts of Albuquerque. Johnny, however, one time at the supermarket, saw an issue of the National Enquirer magazine, and on the front was an article that perfectly described his life, he thought. The article was called, "My Father is a Space Alien." Oh. It told of a mother abducted and impregnated by a space alien named Glimp. That's what he remembered anyway, and that's what she said was the name. This set off a chain of events, including a visit to Area 51 by Johnny, where Cherie worked, by the way, as a cook in the installations cafeteria. That's his mom. And eventually...
Wait, this is getting better. I love this.
And eventually a visit to famous Wyoming lawyer Gary Spence to see if Mr. Spence could work up a case where the files regarding Area 51 UFO activity could be released. And this was at the beginning of the Bill Clinton's second term in office, October of 1998. And that's all the information I'm going to give you until you tell me case or no case. Well, it's interesting. I mean, Bill Clinton, by the way, just so you know, did release most of the UFO files afterward, and I think this may have been one of the events that led to that. It's possible, certainly.
Okay.
I think your cats were born through aliens.
So, I'm sensing a conspiracy here. Maybe former President Clinton's, hey, it wasn't me, it was your mother. It must have been a space alien. I'll release everything. Go ahead and take a paternity test. You've come from the planet Alpha Beta 5.
Jeez Louise, how did that come out?
I don't know, but I just...
Alpha Beta 5.
Yeah, it's not me.
Alpha Beta was a supermarket.
It was.
Alpha Beta in aisle 5. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, this is getting worse.
I hadn't had this much fun with pigs ate grandma.
Okay, so Mr. King?
I say, boy, this sounds like it's actually a scenario. You mentioned the name Jerry Spence, a Wyoming attorney who is regarded by many as one of the best trial attorneys ever.
Yeah.
And he has a trial academy. He's a
big cowboy, bigger than life attorney.
Exactly. And the only reason why I say
smoke and mirrors.
The only reason why I say that is because he touts himself as that, and he has for so long. I doubt he'd be taking on a case that ran a high likelihood of affecting that record. So
unless he likes publicity.
Could be.
Like
so I'm gonna stall for time because we're coming up on our break, and I will give you my final answer when we come back.
You know what? I'm telling you, I can jump it. That's exactly what I said. Jerry would take this case.
Exactly. I was like, huh?
Well, we don't know if he did or not. I'm telling you, he approached him. We don't know if he actually
Oh,
took
it's changing the
case.
story now, like some of those witnesses.
I'm just saying. Oh, come on.
All right, we'll be back. Hold on, people. Wait. You're going to hear about the alien.
The answer to Radio Law Talk, and you don't have to wait for one of those space alien shows to hear it. Coming up next, right here on your favorite radio station, and of course on RadioLawTalk.com. We'll be right back. Hold on.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to RadioLawTalk.com.
Jason Ross back here with Fred Penney, managing attorney from Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. Now, Fred, what type of cases are you dealing with now, and what sets you apart?
Jason, we help people with all types of personal injury cases. We're former insurance company trial lawyers. We understand the other side, which gives us a distinct advantage over our competition. Remember, we don't get paid unless we win.
That's Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers with locations throughout California. For a free consultation, go to pennylawyers.com or give them a call, 1-800-616-4LAW. That's P-E-N-N-E-Y lawyers.com.
This is Denise Dirks. We can represent clients in divorce, legal separation, child and spousal support, custody, termination of parental rights, step-parent adoptions, guardianships, and even conservatorship matters. Call 1-877-886-7186 for a consultation.
The law offices of Denise L. Dirks provide family law services in Northern California. When the law affects your family, call 877-886-7186. The family of attorneys at Denise L. Dirks is here to help.
Hi, I'm Frederick Penney of Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. I bet you're tired of hearing lawyer commercials. So just relax and listen to music for a few seconds. When you or a family member has been injured, call 800-616-4LAW or see us at PenneyandAssociates.com. See, that wasn't so bad.
I'm going to Quick Quack Car Wash. Get my car washed, make it quick, quack, pretty, shiny, sexy, just because I want to. Don't drive dirty. Gonna get my car suds in the Quick Quack Car Wash. It's the Quick Quack, quickest and the cleanest by far. We're talking 3 skinny minutes sitting right in your car wash. 100 feet of cloth, washing your car at the Quick Quack Car Wash. Any Honda, Mazda, Ford, or Chevy, Saab, or Cadillac, Quick Quack will spruce her up just like that. You'll be happy looking snappy. You'll be glad you was at the Quick Quack Car Wash. Get on the web and go to don'tdrivedirty.com and see where you got your closest Quick Quack in the local area. Get in your car, get in your truck, get on the road, come visit the duck at the
Quick Quack Car Wash, where your car will always leave happy, guaranteed. They take pride in being clean and green by conserving and recycling the water they use, only at the
Quick Quack Car Wash. Quick Quack.
I knew I had a problem, but I didn't know what to do about it.
I tried counting calories, I took pills, eating, and then more eating.
I really wanted to stop, but nothing could make me stop.
At one point, it was so bad that I just felt like giving up.
I felt so alone.
Like nobody else could possibly understand.
We understand. We're Overeaters Anonymous, and we have helped thousands of people just like you. People who want to stop their compulsive eating and start living a healthy, rewarding life.
Overeaters Anonymous. Help me get my life back.
Now I eat in a way that's healthy and good for me.
I never realized what I was missing out on.
With OA, I am living again and loving it.
Start living the life you deserve with help from Overeaters Anonymous. Find us on the web at oa.org.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke.
145 over 92, and then I had a heart attack.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a heart attack or stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
No points for you.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penney.
All right, we're talking about aliens, and I'm making a little tiny bridge here, a little
Fred's making a fort.
Mug fort.
A Radio Law Talk mug fort.
Hey, so okay, the aliens. So tell me what happens. Finish your point. What you think about the alien case and whether or not Jerry Spence is the lawyer for the alien guy who his mom's father was an alien name. What was the alien's name?
Glimp. Yes.
I thought it was Limp.
What did he?
Well, that's what she recalled was Glimp. That was her.
Well, they started an alternative rock band called Glimp Biscuit, and okay, that's a bad one.
Oh, that's
I walk with a glimp. That's what I do. I am going to say that this is a scenario. I believe that there is a dude out there that thinks all this. I don't think he was ever able to get an attorney to represent him in a lawsuit, but he did get an attorney to help him file a Freedom of Information Act request to get the documentation that he wants. So I'm going to say that it went as far as filing a request under the Freedom of Information Act to get information, but no lawsuit was filed in court.
Okay. Fair enough. Mr. Penney, what say you about the sad case of Johnny Bernard looking in space for his father?
Albuquerque, New Mexico,
Yes.
Johnny Bernard,
Yeah.
aliens.
Yeah.
All add up.
Area
it all
51.
adds up.
Yeah.
Area
Yeah.
51. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, I can't talk about some. I know a guy that has an actual shop near Area 51.
Yes.
And it's interesting. What he does for a living, I can't say, I don't want to talk about it on the air, but it's very interesting.
We could if you wanted to pay us. But
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know what I'm talking about,
Right,
Cal.
right,
You know what I'm talking about.
Exactly, I do.
And the interesting thing here is it's going to be short because I agree with Todd 100%. There's no way that a lawyer would take this case, and especially Jerry Spence. But it is a scenario. This guy truly thought that he was the alien son, and what happened after that, I don't know. And it's a story that Cal read while he was sitting on the toilet.
Or perhaps in the line at the store at the the supermarket there, at
could
the
have been that.
Safeway.
Okay,
So
give us our points.
Glimp pays his child support. I'm paying in intergalactic credits. It's not my fault. They're not exchangeable in your currency.
Wait
Come
a
on.
minute, Martian croutons. Okay,
It's
so
a cryptocurrency.
those
Come on.
who say this is a case or a scenario, that
Well,
would
wait.
be
No, it's not a case. It's a scenario.
Those of you who say it's a scenario, that would be
Okay.
Fred and Todd.
What? You made the whole thing up?
Wait, Cal.
Wait a minute. We said no case, so we get a point.
I
We
made
said-
the whole thing up.
I know,
and,
but we said no case.
and I used Bill Clinton as a red herring. So I'm. It was absolutely just made up from whole cloth.
Let me get this straight. So,
Yeah.
so you're convinced
Now there may be a guy,
that
but his
in the
name ain't Johnny
history of
Bernard.
the country there has not been some wingnut out there who thought that his dad was an alien.
I'm sure. I'm not saying it's not possible.
Name Gimp.
Where did you come up with the name Glimp?
When I was in third grade, I was in a play in grade school, and a Martian came, and his words that he spoke on stage were glimp, glollywomp, glue. So I just remembered Glimp from that. And Johnny Bernard, by the way, God rest his soul, was my best friend in high school. I wanted to pay homage to my late best friend by using his name.
No wonder you're a 3-time Emmy Award nominee and never a winner.
Because I can BS my way through
Oh, my
case or no
gosh.
case. And there you have it, folks. Don't worry. Next time, we're going to give Fred a chance because we have another story on case or no case. So you stay tuned.
Well, I think that I thought we should have got. We said it was no case, and it wasn't a case.
Well, we said it was no case. Here's why if I had to side with Cal that we get no points, it's for this.
Why don't we just shut up and say no case? We don't have to say scenario.
It's-
Do we get points about a scenario? We don't.
Because, yeah, that's right. Like I said, it was
We
the
should
truth.
say no case. And just
yeah.
shut up.
Because the premise for your decision was flawed in that it was on a scenario.
My premise that it was not a case is flawed. That it was not a case. All right,
That's
whatever,
kind of what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Well,
it.
speaking of aliens, we're here talking about the Weinstein trial. We got to finish up with that.
Glimp. I like that.
Yeah, Glimp. Okay, let's talk about Weinstein.
Oh, come on. That was
Please,
good.
please go back and listen to our podcast. And those of you who've already shut off your radio.
By the way, we've been mispronouncing his name. I believe it's Gleinstein. So Gleinstein with a P at the end and the GL in the front.
Wow.
Well, at least Glimp wasn't charged with assault by the waitress, which, you know, this.
Or by the aliens.
Yes.
But didn't you like the twist where the mom worked in the kitchen at Area 51? Come on.
That was great, Cal.
And you're listening to great Radio Glop Talk, and we're just going to stick with this. Sure.
Why not?
Cal, or Fred, what do we have?
Can we continue on?
Please.
All right, let's go on to the prosecution. We were talking about the first hour, the Weinstein case, and if we're not going to go back over it again. We're now talking about prosecution is they have their closing argument, and they're basically claiming this is an abusive person. But before we do that, I wanted to just to note a few extra things that the defense did in their closing argument first. I'm jumping already ahead to the prosecution, that they did first before we get to the prosecution.
Before we talk about that, the one thing before they closed that some people raised an eyebrow at, but if most defense attorneys do this, Mr. Weinstein did not testify in the trial.
Right.
Now, oftentimes juries, they want to hear from the defendant, but really, if you think about it, what could a defendant say if they testified that the jury can't already get by implication? They're not going to say I'm guilty because we're doing a trial because you've pled not guilty. We pretty much assume that's what you're going to say. And so really, the risk-reward of putting your client on the stand, whatever benefit you can get is far outweighed by the fact that your client may say something stupid.
I believe jurors want to look them in the eye and hear their own voice and hear from them and try to become almost, not psychics, not a good word, but try to determine their character type from just watching them testify.
But that's not
my
our
opinion.
Constitution, though.
No, I'm not saying they have to. I'm just saying why I think a jury would want them to.
I'm glad you talked about that, because when we talk about closing arguments, this beyond reasonable doubt thing is going to come up, and that's when I want to talk about what Cal just said.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about some very interesting things, including the first thing the defense tells the jury in the closing argument is, use your New York City common sense. That's the first thing that is told. So I don't know what that means, but that's the first thing that is told.
Wait a minute. Somebody said New York City and common sense in the same word?
We're not in New York yet,
We're not in that market. It's okay.
Oh, we're not in the market? All right, let's go for it. We'll be back.
More Radio Law Talk is coming right up right here. No matter where you're from, use your common sense and stay tuned, because there's more of the program coming right up. No go away.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to radiolawtalk.com.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Why? Because you can save 45% on packages compared to your high-priced cable bill. Wow. Take those giant scissors out and cut the cable and save with Dish TV. Plus, you get a free DVR upgrade to record your favorite shows and free installation. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch TV for free on your mobile device. Act fast. You can save hundreds of dollars. Does your cable company do that for you? I don't think so. Get all the best TV programming at your fingertips at a fraction of the price of cable TV. So say adios, arrivederci, goodbye to the high cable bill, and save up to 45% on Dish TV packages today. These are limited time offers and can change at any time. Call fast. 800-814-5108. 800-814-5108. 800-814-5108. That's 800-814-5108.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. and they were able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now Mom and Dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-263-2610. 800-263-2610. That's 800-263-20.
Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Oh, come on. That is Armadillo.
This is Radio Law Talk. And now, back to the show.
So we're talking about Weinstein. We're going to go into the closing arguments by the defense and some interesting things. Go ahead. You had a question?
Well, yeah, we're closing arguments by the defense, and some of you, again, we talked about this before, who maybe think, well, wait a minute, doesn't the prosecution go first? Again, in some states, the prosecution goes first, but in New York, the defense gives closing arguments first, and then the prosecution finishes. They don't do a 1-2-1. It's just defense, prosecution, done.
Done. And so this is on a Thursday, and then Friday, which was yesterday, the prosecution lays their they already laid their case out. They have their closing arguments. And then they take a recess for next week. The jury has all week to think about it. They're not supposed to. They're told, you're supposed to go home and be normal. But when you come back next week, next Tuesday, you're going to discuss it and try to make a decision. So what does defense say? Defense stands up and says, like I said during the break, be New Yorkers and use your common sense. And it's important for you, the argument is by defense, by Harvey Weinstein's defense, is if you have any doubt, if it's beyond a reasonable doubt, don't forget, they go into the beyond a reasonable doubt issue, that you can't just say, oh, you know what, they're probably guilty. No, it's got to be beyond a reasonable doubt. We've discussed that many times. We don't want to get into that. But they said, be brave and say not guilty, because they go into a number of things saying he is not the monster that you as in, over on the other side, or that the media has portrayed him to be. You have to go by the facts that were presented to you, not by the media or the sensationalism. And this is what prosecutors, defense people say a lot. I'm sure you have too, Todd. Mm-hmm. You don't have to like the person. We're not saying you have to like Harvey Weinstein. This is what their argument is, by the way. I'm not arguing it. You don't have to like him. And we're okay with you not liking him. That doesn't mean he's guilty. And that's the thing that the defense sat there and hammered on. And then they go on and say every single one of these women, and the closing argument is by his lawyer, who's a woman.
Yes.
Every single one of these women reached out and asked for these things from Harvey. She brought up an important point, and she makes some great arguments. And we're going to, whether you disagree or agree, we're going to talk about some really good arguments she made, which is he didn't reach out to them. They reached out to him.
But you made a great, I think you kind of scratched on a great area here, Fred, and that is you don't have to like this guy. Do lawyers, and either of you've both tried a lot of cases, do you ever look at the jury and say, you don't have to like me, just listen to what I'm saying? Because I don't think, having covered a lot of cases in the courtroom, I don't think juries like a lot of attorneys. They resent the fact that they're there in most cases, taking their time. Do you ever say to them, please don't pay attention to whether you like me or not, just listen to what I'm saying, or something like that?
No, Cal, I never do that because they always love me. The juries love me.
Well,
so I just say, hey,
sorry,
just because you like me, give me the verdict.
Of course.
That's what's the complete opposite. No,
I'm
I
sorry
don't do
about
that, Cal. I can't believe you questioned that they didn't like me.
Well, I didn't mean you personally. I meant in generic. You.
Todd, they all like you too, right?
Well, they sure.
Go with that.
Here's the thing. As a defense attorney, if you have to cross-examine a victim on the stand and you have to get into things that they said that are uncomfortable, and then the victim starts crying, what is the typical reaction when you see one person talking to another person and the other person is being made to cry? You immediately think that they're being beat up upon. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. You look at it and you go, my heart goes out to them. That's sometimes a difficult thing for a defense attorney to overcome.
But here's another issue. So they also argue, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is Weinstein's attorney. It's about two women, Miss Haley and Miss Mann. It's not about the other four. Remember that those two are the two you're looking at, whether you believe them or not. And then she argues it's not an issue with those other four prior bad acts testimonies. Now, you could take that into consideration, obviously, but she's basically saying it's about Miss Haley and Miss Mann. And this is what she says that I said to myself, and I wrote on my notes next to it, I wouldn't have said it just like that. And she says, quote, in the end, it comes down to those two. The lawyer said, this is the lawyer that said about Haley and Mann, quote, if you don't believe Miss Haley or Miss Mann, you don't have to evaluate anything else. What I would have said there, and again, this is armchair quarterback. By the way, this closing argument was phenomenal. I would have gone on and said, even if you do believe some other stuff they say, was it beyond a reasonable doubt that there's some doubt some stuff was not true, even if you do believe some of it? See what I'm saying? So I would have put in, because she basically said, if you don't believe them, then that's too extreme. You know what I'm saying?
And you have to remember the argument before the pretrial motions, when the prosecution said, look, we are calling these people for their past experiences. They're not in the complaint, but we're calling them for their motive. The defense specifically argued to the court, if you let those people testify, the jury is going to try to convict my client of offenses against Haley and Mann, and they're going to do it because they don't like his conduct against these people that he introduced for motive. And the judge said, well, I think the jury will be able to understand that this is only being used to show motive and scheme, and they'll know that it's that this isn't being offered as if he did it here, he did it here. It's just to show his modus operandi, so to speak. They won't convict him because they don't like this. They're just using it for that. Well, if the judge makes that ruling, then the defense has to remind the jury that's the only reason this stuff came in. The only reason. And if you don't believe Mann and Haley,
doesn't matter.
None of that stuff matters.
And here's the thing: then what she comes in with, that's a little bit soft. Believe it or not, this is soft. Then she starts hammering. Here's the hammer. Miss Haley, quote, is a flirtatious person. And Mann, she goes on to Miss Mann and says she has been used by the state of New York and the prosecution. And she says, I feel sorry for Miss Mann. She is a victim of the state of New York. Wow, what a great argument. I think, and again, we're lawyers here talking about the argument. What a great argument that is. And then she goes in and says the following, more hammer. Now the hammer's getting heavier. Hammer. Both women, she said, used Weinstein to benefit their career. And as of Miss Mann, she made a choice that she wants to be in this world, that is this career, this world of Hollywood type of world. And she made the choice that he could have potentially provided her stuff that she wanted.
Doesn't it sound to you, Todd, that she wants it both ways, that she's saying, don't victimize. This person's been made a victim, but let's beat up this alleged victim. I mean, it's like
when you say she, the prosecutor,
yeah,
or the defense attorney.
Defense attorney saying, now I could be wrong, but it sounds to me like that's two different things came out of her mouth in that
Here's
argument.
the brilliance that I see in this argument, and it's because when you're talking to a jury like that, you're concerned that the jury is going to face this dichotomy that doesn't really exist, which is if I acquit Harvey Weinstein, then I have to admit that this person is not a victim of anything. And now, because of this argument, they are allowing the jury to say, hey, you can acquit Weinstein and still view her as a victim. It's just she's not a victim of Weinstein. She's a victim of the state. And now mentally they're allowed to have that, both of those things where I can still accept her as a victim and acquit Harvey Weinstein.
That was pretty smart.
I think that's brilliant the way she does that.
She talks about, look, now prosecution's going to be able to get up. Just remember, I can't say anything after that. I'm done. Remember, she kind of insinuates that's not fair, but that's the way the process is. And she said she's going to be a tiny bit loud, and she's going to have the last word, and she's going to draw on your emotions. Don't let her do that. And she goes into that, and she does the final kind of like boom. And it's an interesting thing. She gets into women and women's rights, kind of. I'm not going to say rights, but how women are treated. And she plays the kind of the prosecution and New York as victimizing women, that they cannot make their own decisions when they come in and do things like this, that women, it's stripping women of any ability to make their own decisions, stripping women of the choices they make and labeling it as something else. Man, she's hammer, big hammers. Go ahead.
Well,
Todd, you had a question?
Well, the only thing I was going to say is the arguments that you've heard her make is exactly why Weinstein wanted a female to make the argument as opposed to a male, because if a male is making these arguments, it comes off as too paternalistic, biased. It just wouldn't work.
Great point.
Yeah, well, quick point. We have 30 seconds, really quick. The final things, and we'll get into what the prosecution says. You don't have to like Mr. Weinstein. This is not a popularity contest. And you, she says, are the last line of defense in this country from an overzealous media. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about what prosecution has to say.
It'll be interesting how the jury responds to all of that. I guess we'll find out in time. In the meantime, speaking of time, we're out of it for this segment. We'll be back with more Radio Law Talk right after this. Don't go away.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to radiolawtalk.com.
If you're one of those independent people who wants your own business and you love food service, we just might have a great opportunity for you. Iceberg Drive-Ins. Iceberg is famous for its thick shakes and delicious food. We lend you our supply chain and expertise, and you can potentially have a thriving, successful, fun business that your customers will love. Iceberg Drive-Ins has some prime areas available right now, so if you're interested, get in touch with us right away. Go to icebergdrivein.com and click on the Contact Us button. Iceberg Drive-In, ready to grow with you.
Jason Ross back here with Fred Penney, managing attorney from Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. Now, Fred, what type of cases are you dealing with now, and what sets you apart?
Jason, we help people with all types of personal injury cases. We're former insurance company trial lawyers. We understand the other side, which gives us a distinct advantage over our competition. Remember, we don't get paid unless we win.
That's Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers with locations throughout California. For a free consultation, go to pennylawyers.com or give them a call, 1-800-616-4LAW. That's Penney lawyers.com.
This is Denise Dirks. We can represent clients in divorce, legal separation, child and spousal support, custody, termination of parental rights, step-parent adoptions, guardianships, and even conservatorship matters. Call 1-877-886-7186 for a consultation.
The law offices of Denise L. Dirks provide family law services in Northern California. When the law affects your family, call 877-886-7186. The family of attorneys at Denise L. Dirks is here to help.
Not all law firms have extensive experience in all areas of the law. It's wise to look for firms that have knowledge and understanding in your particular area of concern. So go to prolawfirms.com. They have listings of attorneys in key areas of practice, such as family law, estate planning, personal injury, bankruptcy, and so forth. When you're looking for a lawyer that has extensive experience in your particular area of need, go to prolawfirms.com. That's prolawfirms.com.
ProLawFirms.com is not a law firm and does not endorse or recommend any specific law firm.
I'm going to Quick Quack Car Wash. Get my car washed, make it quick, quack, pretty, shiny, sexy, just because I want to. Don't drive dirty. Going to get my car suds in the Quick Quack Car Wash. It's the Quick Quack, quickest and the cleanest by far. We're talking 3 skinny minutes sitting right in your car. Watch 100 feet of claw. Washing your car at the Quick Quack Car Wash. Any Honda, Mazda, Ford, Chevy, Sauber, Cadillac, Quick Quack will spruce her up just like that. You'll be happy looking snappy. You'll be glad you was at the Quick Quack Car Wash. Get on the web and go to don'tdrivedirty.com and see where you got your closest Quick Quack in the local area. Get in your car, get in your truck, get on the road, come visit the duck at the
Quick Quack Car Wash, where your car will always leave happy, guaranteed. They take pride in being clean and green by conserving and recycling the water they use, only at the
Quick Quack Car Wash.
Quick Quack. All right, guys, we need to have you read some lines for our disclaimer promo, but first, can anybody tell me what a disclaimer is? All right, then.
Well, Denise, you go ahead.
Non uti concilius me oriere proquestus purpureum juris consult.
Latin, that's a nice touch. Thank you, Denise. Next time we'll try it in English if that's okay. Fred, how about you?
Cal, I don't want to read all this. Can't we just tell the people that we're discussing general legal issues and they should hire their own attorney instead of relying on what we have to say here?
Well, we could, I guess. Chris?
I'm not going to be there anyway. Why have me do it?
Let's have Todd do it.
Me? Read disclaimers? Why, I couldn't. The information you hear on Radio Law Talk is general.
The preceding promo was for entertainment purposes only. And if you want true legal advice, contact your own lawyer. Just a tip from your friends at Radio Law Talk.
Be sure to read our disclaimers on radiolawtalk.com as well.
I like the Amargosa Valley.
Radio Law Talk and radiolawtalk.com.
I went to fist bump him, and he Todd, and he ignored me.
I left him hanging on the fist. Okay, I'll give you the fist bump back. Okay.
Go. You wanted to bring something up that we ended with. We're going to start with the prosecution's closing argument. You said, I got to say something else.
Yeah, because, look, they can't get around in this case that you're dealing with something that is claimed to be a part and parcel of the Hollywood experience and what's going on, what goes on in the acting world, or allegedly goes on in the acting world. And so this defense attorney weaved in a Hollywood-type motif, or metaphor, in explaining this. And she said, I quote, "The assistant district attorneys are the producers in this case, and they are writing the script. In their universe, women are not responsible for the parties they attend, for the men they flirt with, for the jobs that they ask for help with. In this script, the powerful man is the villain, and he's so unattractive and large that no woman would want to sleep with him voluntarily." Now, look, I'm just going to put aside whether or not that argument makes sense, whether it's supported by the facts or what have you, if it is a defense or not. All I'm saying is, rather than getting up and blandly stating as part of the defense, this is the evidence, do this, she weaves it into something, a story, in hopes that people can identify. And in my opinion, it's a brilliant move to try to illustrate the point, because it's something that people can identify with, because we've all seen movies, we all know that. This was just very well done on her part, just from a trial tactic standpoint. I guess it remains to be seen whether or not it was effective. Jury starts deliberating Tuesday. But they heard the prosecution's argument.
The prosecution stands up, and guess how they start out?
Oh,
they start out
tell.
right at the beginning. They said he's an abusive rapist. First thing they said. Now, one of the first main things they said. They said he manipulated women in order who were first coming into the industry because of his power. But here's the interesting thing, that all these scenarios they use, I think, are interesting. And again, as lawyers, we know this is serious, but as lawyers, we look at the tactics. He is, quote, the closing argument said, the lawyer for the prosecution, he is, quote, the master of his universe and the witness here were really ants whom he could step on without consequences. Yikes. And he talks about, and she goes into about how he stays in touch with them. They have to come up with the argument. How are they going to overcome the argument that these women, especially Miss Mann, said this, brought these horrible allegations, and then continued to go out with him and be his friend? And basically their argument there was he kept in touch with them as a check. In other words, they're like a little check to make sure they would not make accusations against them. In other words, kind of held them captive as a friend or girlfriend and stayed close with them.
Right, to just keep a tether on them and make sure they don't get away and tell what's really going on. But the question is the defense implying indirectly here that if you wish to be in the movie industry, the casting couch is how the game is played, and that's you make the choice? Then is that kind of what she's saying? Because I don't think that'll fall well on the jury's ear, will it?
Yeah, but we're talking about the prosecution now, but that's the prosecution has to get around that, Cal.
Right, that's my point.
How are they going to get around that? 855 Law Radio, if you want to call in. Again, 855 Law Radio. But they have to, the gorilla in the room is exactly what you said, Cal. They not only voluntarily, their argument is defense, they voluntarily had relationships with him, was what their argument is, and not only that, kept going after that.
Right.
So that's why they have to say that's his MO. That was the prosecution's argument. That's the MO, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. That's he kept a little check on them to make sure he controlled. And that's kind of what they were getting at.
And I would say that to talk about the prosecution's argument and how it ties with your question, Cal, would be this. The crime here should be that Weinstein, and the element should be that Weinstein acted in a way that deprived the women of an actual choice whether or not to engage in sexual activity with him. That is the way that the jury instruction, everything should be written. They were adults, and he deprived them of an actual choice through actual force. They could not get away. It should not be, this is the defense argument, it should not be he deprived them of a palatable choice, because if they decided not to, then their career would go away, things would be unpleasant if they didn't. That is, you still have the choice, you just don't necessarily like the consequences if you don't. That seems to be the defense argument and the key distinction between those two. And, look, the allegations, you're talking about all this, but the allegation here from these women isn't, man testified that she engaged in activity with him, or he towards her, and she didn't want to do it, and he forced himself on her. So they're arguing, the prosecution is arguing that this was a deprivation of actual choice. So the jury shouldn't be confused to think, well, I don't think it was that, but boy, it was still unpalatable, so we'll convict anyway. If that's their thought process, no, you shouldn't convict. So
yeah, she goes on and says, and this is, I put good argument. This really, the prosecution, and it's Miss Aluzzi Miss Aluzzi is the prosecutor that is handling these closing arguments. The question for you is not whether Jessica Mann made a bad decision, and Cal and I talked about this earlier. She said it's when talking about Mann's relationship concerning Weinstein. Did she make a bad decision? And their argument is that's not the issue. The issue is whether Miss Mann is lying about what happened. And if she's telling you the truth, then these allegations are true. And that's how she diverts and goes around the issue that, you know what, yeah, she made bad decisions. We're owning it. And she even says she owns her behavior. 3 days worth of testifying.
Yeah.
She owned all the bad things that she did or things that she messed up on. She owned it. And so that's a good way to say you're right, but that still doesn't mean she wasn't assaulted.
That's true. That's true. I think the most difficult thing going forward at this point is whether or not the jury can maintain the discipline of applying the right standard beyond reasonable doubt. And it's because we don't normally do that. If I get an argument with my kids, it's just like, okay, who do I believe more? Do you? And that is the basis by which we handle so many arguments these days, that asking a jury of 12 people to shift from the way they handle arguments probably 95% of the time to this standard is difficult, and they shift and they fall back into what they normally do. It's going to be a test of their discipline.
Now, doesn't this just prove the point that usually in most cases, Fred and Todd, that there's not an obvious, clear delineation, that none of these things are clean? You go in and it's just not cut, dried, boom, boom, boom. It is some sort of gray area in between, not a binary choice for a jury. Is that
well,
false?
I would say that if it were cut and clean like that, you could probably try these cases with a computer. Just input the evidence, and whatever the computer says, that's the verdict. So you're right. It is judging credibility, and it's never clean.
Wow.
Interesting.
I think I got a new business now. Yeah. You just gave us all a good business tip.
A
computer lawyer.
I don't know. If it's the same algorithm that got us booted from Twitter because we even posted about Weinstein, I'm not certain I trust that.
I don't know about that. Anyway,
AI legal firm.
Yes.
We're ending this. So that's Weinstein. We're going to follow up with you next week. We're going to discuss it really quickly. Michael Avanatti. Let's just cut to this really quick. We've talked about it in the past. Go to our podcast. He was just found guilty and convicted on Friday of basically attempting to shake down Nike. He basically they found him guilty of extortion, attempted extortion, honest service fraud. and the related use, which is called interstate communications. And so he's going to do some time.
Essentially, the jury has said, Michael, you have been naughty. You are Avanatti.
And he faces a long prison.
Well, see here,
does.
this is what's the interesting thing. It's not just that what I wanted to bring up. He is also trailing on another trial in New York, April 21st, on stealing allegedly $300,000 from Miss Daniels. And then in California, a third federal trial in California, where he's accused of ripping off other clients that he had. One who they're claiming was a paraplegic. And so this guy has got a lot more cases to go.
He's looking at 42 years for the conviction he just suffered, maximum, and he still has 2 left to go.
Well, we're going to be back the third hour. Join us. And if you want to call in 855 Law Radio, we're going to talk about Jussie Smollett. We've got to talk to you about what happened in the mediation. What a lawyer did to another lawyer. That's the best when we come back. Cal, take us out.
All right, folks, stay tuned here. You are listening to Radio Law Talk on radiolawtalk.com or on your favorite radio station. We're not picky about which. We're just glad you're listening and invite you to stay tuned because another hour is coming right up. Don't go away.
You have been listening to radiolawtalk.com, a copyrighted presentation of Radio Law Talk Incorporated.
Than you have to on your life insurance. Hi, I'm John David Wells from the Wells Report. Did you know that life insurance rates have fallen 60% over the past 25 years? Even if you already own life insurance, you should check out the folks at AccuQuote. Since 1986, they've helped millions of people save up to 60% on their life insurance by comparing the rates and features of dozens of top-rated life insurance products. Want some examples? Here's this one. A healthy 50-year-old non-smoker can buy $500,000 worth of 10-year level term for less than $45 a month. A 60-year-old under $120 a month. 20 or 30-year terms. Even permanent plans are also available. And if you're on medications or have health problems, the experts at AccuQuote will still work with you to find an affordable policy. Nobody does it better than AccuQuote. Call 877-437-5912 right now. That's 877-437-5912. 877-437-5912. Life insurance. AccuQuote. Call them today.
Rates, policy forms, and availability vary by state.